All right, we up and running. All right, we're looking good. Hey, folks, okay, great. Hey, we're going to continue working on... Let me turn down this volume here. It sounds like the volume's going through A-okay. We're going to continue working on the Rubblebelt Hex Crawl campaign that we've been building specifically to playtest the martial power system. Get this out of the way. Rubblebelt, wastelands in the Ravnica campaign setting. We're using colored land system from the MTG card game. White is plains, blue is islands, black is swamps, red are mountains, and green is forest. We have elevated lands, which are indicated with the upward. We've got flat land, and then we've got sunken land. And so each of the different lands have different types of creatures that are associated with them. If we can build out this playtest list here, we'll be able to go ahead and... let me scroll down here to the different... Hey, Hornetico, it's good to see you, my guy. If we can build out the creatures, like if we can flesh out finishing the creature lists here on the tables, then we will be able to, when we come back, maybe today, we have a pretty strict deadline today of an hour. So I doubt I'm going to have time today, but we stream the Martial Powers project, either character development or the campaign playtest environment, either that or the other on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, including today and tomorrow. So I suspect we're going to be done with building out creatures by land color by today, which means tomorrow we can actually go in and start building random tiles to theorize what kind of challenges a team would be facing on a short rest per tile basis. Each of these squares here, it represents a 10-mile space. The timing for a 24-hour day, we're pacing out 9 hours for a long rest, and then 5 hours of travel time in one tile, and then take a short rest for 5 hours, and then 5 hours traverse a tile, take a short rest, and then 5 hours for another tile, and then that would be 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours, 9 hour long rest, 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours, 9 hours short rest. So I'm going to be attempting to pace out the adventure so that the team is able to resolve in one short rest the hazards, enchantments, and creatures that they'll be facing in that space. I got some badoops going on, and that means that I have not successfully shut down my Discord. So hold on real quick. Let me throw up the veil here real fast. And drop this stuff into the background here. Love you guys, but let me get things kicking. Hey, Super, it's good to see you, my guy. It's pretty crazy. Oh, what, the pace that I'm proposing? Hold on real quick. Let's go to here, and just a shout out real quick to the Ravnica DMs Reddit. Great channel. A lot of really fun ideas about MTG and D&D, and Ravnica specifically as a flavor. Also, I just posted that I am live on my Twitter account at Phil Kearney. You can follow me there. And if you think any of this stuff is... We've picked up more subscribers. So if you think this stuff is cool, jump along, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when I'm live in the future. The entire playtest, the entire 128 episodes are here in the full playlist. The Martial Power content is here on my Patreon. You do not need to be a paid member of Patreon to gain access to the Martial Powers content that I have here. It is ready to go for playtesting level 1 to 20 for barbarians, fighters, monks, paladins, rogues, rangers, as well as we have a system to replace artificer infusions and warlock invocations to make use of power instead of spells. So you can lean into that. We've spent 120 some odd episodes basically walking through the mechanics of how this stuff works. So we're just going to focus on the D&D, on the DM side of the screen. So yeah, we already have inside of here a random generator for determining the type of land, whether it's elevated or sunken terrain, whether you're going to have, there's going to be at least 2 hazards per tile, which is going to be a mix of enchantments, monsters, and environmental hazards that the team needs to deal with. If I pace this correctly, we should be able to have, say, 2 or maybe 2 combat encounters, a hazard encounter, and if there's a rogue enchantment or artifacts that are affecting a tile, then that would count as another encounter as well. Shutting down enchantments cause debilitating effects on characters, so you want to shut them down. Like like for example, if you're in a white tile terrain and it rolls up that we have an enchantment, and then we say roll number 2, Light of Sanction. All monsters gain careful casting for AoE effects. So if we go back up and we look at our kit of creating monsters, we spent a lot of time, I think back around episode 99, looking at, let's see, here's the playtest design stuff. Here's a bunch of sample characters that we built. Let me flip through. These characters are going to be basically on call in a stack of characters that anyone that wants to playtest on the day that we're running, if they don't have a character, just grab a character off the stack. There you go. So you'll be up and running with us in a matter of moments. But if, as a DM, and I'm custom building these different kits for creatures, here's a bunch of different solo creature examples. Here's your basic template. If the CR is, so we're going to be dealing with, since we're starting at 3rd level, I'm not going to be going probably beyond CR 2 or 3. But that's still going to allow like boss fights to get into the 2nd rank of power, while the normal mooks that you guys are going to be kicking around with are going to be 1st rank. So the power dice, power dice again act like bardic inspiration die, combat superiority dice, sneak attack dice, smite damage. Those are basically like the type of dice that those things represent. So a 1st rank creature, like say a goblin, is like a half CR creature, I think. So it might have like 8 hit points, maybe even 4. But if it has, if it's using power, it could know up to 2 powers of 1st rank, and if any of them require die roll, it would be an extra D4. So like we were supposed to be dealing with Sanctum. So instead of a goblin, let's instead make it a guardian spirit. Like say you're trying to shut down a sanction spell in an Orzhov data factory that's been dilapidated, ignored for a few hundred years, and now all the magical defenses and the spirits that are bound to that location to protect the data center have gone rogue over hundreds of years in lack of direction. So if you go into that tile, and you are now going to have to be dealing with automated defenses, rogue enchantments, and spirit creatures that are going to take umbrage with your characters being in that space. But you have to traverse that space to be able to continue in your west march towards civilization. So if we're looking at spirits and the inner sanction, enchantment allows AoE effects to have careful casting. Careful casting basically means that if you have allies within an area of effect, you can choose for those allies to not be affected while everybody else is, which allows you to like drop like a sorcerer or an evocation wizard can drop a fireball, but your friends are going to be safe because their area is not counted amongst that mix. So if we're looking at AoE effects, we're largely going to be looking at giving like that spirit creature be like a half CR spirit creature. So it may be incorporeal, so it'll take half damage from normal weapons, but it might only have like 4 or 5 hit points, like say an armor class of 12. So it's going to be easy to hit, but it's going to be a little tanky because it's going to have that incorporeal aspect to it. It can kick through walls to avoid you, but if it's going to be dropping AoE effects on you, let's get, I shot past it, so let me get to the maneuvers. Here we go. What's some cool maneuver stuff that they could be doing to you? Let's see, an area of effect. Let's go with, I know there's not a lot of AoE stuff here, but if we're going to be leaning into that idea, we could do, let's say, they can have up to a second rank power. Normally it's only going to be 1st rank powers. So like we could give them a flatten effect. Choose a creature you can see. It takes, in this case, it'd be 1 power die, which would be a D4 worth of mana damage. And if your character fails the strength saving throw, you're knocked prone. And you're forced to remain prone until you can succeed a strength saving throw at the end of each of your turns. You can still crawl around and make attacks at disadvantage, but you are forced to subjugate yourself in the presence of the data factory spirits. They could use, I could do like a burning hand spell, but make it radiant damage instead of fire. So it'd be a cone of 15 feet, and if there's any allies that are within that cone, they could choose to skip damage on that cone effect. They could have access to a double strike, which is they could make 2 melee attacks with advantage during their attack. And so the pacing that we have for these spirits, we'll roll down to here. Simple monster kits, pre-gen. Let's see, what's the basic format? I seem a little disorganized. It's okay. No, that's the color magic system. Here we go. And when I actually build this out, we'll have these all in separate chapters to make it easy to digest. Like, say we make these spirits controllers. So they could have, like, say... they could have close quarter combat, which is a free grappling strike. So if they hit you with an attack, you're automatically grappled, so you become restrained. That's a fun way to do it. They could grapple you. If they succeed, and if they hit you and you fail your strength saving throw, you become restrained. And then its ally could drop, say, that burning hands effect to cause radiant damage. You can't run away. You're going to have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws because you're restrained. And the spirit that's holding you won't be affected because of the careful... the careful casting effect means that they can grapple your character to prevent you from being able to move or effectively attack while you can still be affected by stuff. So, hey, Tyler, it's good to see you. It's like, that's a quick example. And then Anchor is too high of a level for them to make use of. So, like a Brute could have elemental resistance. So, like these spirits are already going to be resistant to physical attacks. But your character is going to have access to various types of energy damage, depending on what kind of strikes you decide to choose. So these creatures could be say resistant to radiant damage, or it could be resistant to necrotic damage. That would be on flavor for an Azorius white-based spirit creature inside of an Azorius land tile. So so you would have to then go through defeat the spirits to get to the enchantment that's causing that AoE effect. And if you shut down the enchantment, then you'll be able to basically quell the zone, shut down the spirits as defenders, and open that space up for you to be able to safely take a long rest in that area. Or if you're at the beginning of the day, you could then travel through that area to the next tile without having to worry about attacks from spirits on your flanks. If you decide that tile was too difficult and you move through without quelling it, then when you move into another tile, they could potentially be attacking you. Like if you move to this tile and you decided that you weren't capable of defeating it, and like say you wanted to move this tile, this tile, this tile, this tile, or this tile, right? Any of these surrounding tiles, this tile is still active, so it could be added to any random encounters, and it can attack you in the evening. So when you go through a tile, you either clean up that tile, or you risk it continuing to attack you on top of whatever tile it is that you're dealing with. To be able to avoid the threat of a tile, you have to move 2 tiles away. That's basically the idea. So, right now, we're getting back to the point of assigning different types of creatures to different types of lands. And if I can successfully I've got about 40 minutes left today, so if we can get through that task, there's a bunch of lands. We already got a bunch of monsters set up. This is just a loose collection. I could swap these out as I please, but this is enough, I think, of a setup for us to work there. And then let's look at maybe dungeon bosses. So you have the overland environment, and then since it's a rubble belt, it's basically wasteland built on top of miles worth of understructure or toppled skyscrapers that were all buildings inhabited by denizens of Ravnica when the area was still up and effective. Each of these hollowed out buildings or sunken terrain, these undercity cavern spaces, can all be dungeons or lairs for creatures to occupy. So the overground is going to be a representation of what is inside of the dungeon, but the dungeon will have a boss. So if you want to quell the dungeon and stop creatures from populating on the surface to attack you while you're traversing the terrain, then you need to go into the dungeon and shut down the boss. Just like if it was an enchantment, you'd have to go into the facility that's supporting the enchantment structure and shut down the enchantment using mana. With a dungeon, you would go in and shut down the monster, either with combat or diplomacy of like combat or social encounter. You could potentially negotiate and bribe a creature to have its creatures not bother you. You could potentially ally it for approaching in different manners. If you wanted to go into a dungeon and you wanted to do an exploration mission to basically avoid combat or resolution, you might be able to loot resources from the place, but you're not going to shut it down. However, while you're on the surface, if you were to use stealth and exploration, you may be able to move through a tile without being noticed. But that would only be useful for scouting. If you then brought your caravan of NPC, your followers, the caravan that you're basically wayfinding for, you have to clear out the tile and negate any threats inside of that space for your caravan to be able to take a long rest. So you can stealth your way through to avoid challenges in the short run, but your team is ultimately going to have to deal with whatever tile it is that you're traversing through. And it's all randomized. So, excuse me for a second. Let me see what's going on with my phone. Yeah, we're looking good here. Okay, cool. Let's see. All right, so let's look at some. Ultimately, I think I'd want to have dungeon bosses that are assigned to each of the guild colors. Like have more generic color on the surface for being, well, it would be basically like if I'm in, like, say, this land tile here, it's a black tile inside of a red environment. Like the region is red, the tile is black, which means that this would be like a Rakdos sort of theme. So it would be kind of keen to have Azorius, Boros, Dimir, Gruul, Izzet, Orzhov, Rakdos, Selesnya, Simic. Is that all 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm missing one. Oh, Selesnya, Izzet, Orzhov, Gruul, Dimir, Simic. No, I have Simic there. Who am I missing? Golgari, thank you. There we go. Golgari, let's... that's going to be white, blue, blue, black. Sorry. White, red. Blue, black. Black, green. What is it? Blue, red. No, is that A, B, C, D, F, G, G, H, I. Thank you. That is red, green, blue, red, white, black. Black, red, white, green, and blue, green. Forsaken Sphinx. Yeah, let's just grab these. Rogue Angel. Let's go with Forsaken Sphinx, Lawful Poltergeist, and Rogue Lamassu, Fallen Angel, Forsaken Sphinx, Lawful Poltergeist, Rogue Lamasu. There. That's some Azorius type shit. Boros, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bop, 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 bop. Let's go. What are we looking at? Let's look at Fire Giants. Yeah, Fire Giants. How about that? And we can go with Lost Goblin Regiment. What's another fun Boros idea? We can go with yeah, Forsaken a Fallen Angel for the win. How about Outcast Angel, and how about Soldier Firekin? Sorry, that would be what would that be? How about Outcast Angel, Militant Azer. There we go. Let's do that instead. Demir, we can be, let's see, Vampiric Cabal, how about Outland Operatives, what's another good one? It could be what's other cool Demir shit? Looking for the Guildmaster's Guide, y'all. Where are ya? Obnoxious. Let's go back to backgrounds. Creatures. There. I bet we'll find some fun stuff here. What's up, Tyler? I don't play real games like Pokemon. Right. Let's see what some cool bosses are. Shadow, Thought Spy, Grick, Intellect Devourer, Doppelganger, Flying Horror. Oh, didn't we have some pseudo lists already populated down here? You know, Doppelganger doesn't seem like a very fun thing to be. Vampire. Ooh, Chain Devil. Rakdos Chain Devil. Nice. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Let's go to Golgari. This is looking some Golgari looking stuff. Bop, bop, bop. And then bop. Krasis. Swarm. Medusa Conclave. Enclave. Medusa Enclave. Hydra lair, Crisis Swarm, Dwarm Ooze Master. That sounds like a fun thing to have. So let's go look at our Dimir list. Intellect Devourer, Wraith, Assassin, Lazar, pass. Syrian Horror, Alep, Mind Mage. Vampire is in here, but let's go with let's go with a how about a Grick Hive. And then one last thing, what do we want? How about a Ooze Master, Dimir. That could be psychic type stuff. How about Evil Flumps? That's hilarious. Let's just go with that. For the meme. For the meme. We'll go with Ogre Warboss. Via Shino Lancer. How about we go with a Goblin Bat Riders and Hill Giant. Let's go with Rogue Golem. We could have a living spell. Roll random spell. And we could have a outcast artificer. And what would be another fun is that thing to have? Goblin, cultists, God of Machines, vampire. Did I do vampy stuff up here? Dimir. Spirit Guardians and Spirit Warlord. Excuse me for a second. Let's see, but yeah, so Outland Operatives would basically be like a rogue sect, or not even a rogue sect. It's just a it would be a undefined hidden mission. It would basically be a bunch of scouts that are exploring a space. probably looking for an artifact or an enchantment or some sort of information. And they're just out there in the Rubble Belt, basically doing adventuring shit, and you run into them. They've taken control of the area because that's what Dimir does to gain resources. And you stumble into them and they view you as a threat. Evil Flumps, psychic shit. That's Dimir territory. A Grick Hive. Gricks are tentacly floaty creatures. It's the book says Gricks are Dimir-like. I'll just go with it. Ooh, let's go. Let's go with. How about Illithid Spawn? There, that's a good one. Psychic shit is kind of Dimir's wheelhouse in general. Down to Orzhov, spirit. They deal with undeath and control wealth, aristocracy. So vampires are definitely appropriate for Orzhov, more so than anywhere else. Spirit guardians are very much their ball. Let's see. We could go with human cultists. Because you can always have cultists. Well, not everyone can have cultists, but Orzhov sounds good. Izzet, I'm cool with having cultists. Because these guys, the goblin cultists are going to be worshipping Artifice and the blue-red energy mix, while human cultists, spirit gods, basically would be worshipping the different undead that are in the region. So they'd be building a religion around it. Like a rogue, like an offshoot perversion, even more perverted than what the Orzhov church is. It'd be even more inbred. What's another cool boss fight for Orzhov region, though? Oh, whites, of course. God. White. Yeah, white regiment. Because white are intelligent undead. They're appropriate. Rakdos, Chain Devil Overlord. Lost Circus Performers. Death Cult. What's some more fun? How about why do you want it to be inbred, like rye or knock it off, Tyler? Pumpernickel, of course, because of the color. Let's see. Chain Devil, Lost Circus. How about Colony of Imps? That's fun. Lost Circus Performers makes sense. Outcast Ringleader. Warlock. Selesnya. The Selesnya natural pick there would be a insane druid. How about protective Trents? Let's see, plants, and then so Selesnya is about plants and beasts. Awakened. How about let's do this. Displacer beast. Yeah, cheetah. Let's do that. And one last thing. What do I want? Pack of blink dogs. No, blink dogs are white. No, that's Leslie. That makes sense. Pack of blink dogs. Yeah. How fun? Because blink dogs are intelligent. Fucking cool. Let's see. Forgotten Crisis experiments. Sentient ooze pit. Thank you. Sentient ooze pit. I got 20 minutes left. This is going really well. This is much more efficient than what we were facing last time. So I'm really happy with how this is progressing. Forgotten Crisis experiments. Sentient ooze pit. What's some more fun? What's some more cool Simic shit? Oozes, Crisis, mutated human hybrids. That'll work. And I need one more fun thing. Let's go back to our handy dandy list here and see if we can fetch anything Simic-y. I don't like the idea of merfolk because we aren't going to guarantee there's any good sources of water that would support a merfolk population. But dragon turtle, God, this is really implying there's a lot of ocean that normally isn't on point for Ravnica. I'm going to declare shenanigans on this. I think this stuff is misbred. Ooh, there we go. Flesh sculpting druid. There we go. So like mutated creatures. That feels pretty good. That was fucking fast. Cool. All right, we done it. So this is our generic. We'll have our enchantments by color, disabling enchantments, intensity of enchantments, creature types. So let's just block that in there just to make it a little easier to digest the information. I think I'm just going to traipse around a little bit just to see what we have. Now that we've got a pretty decent list of critters, a decent list of enchantments, and environmental hazards. Maybe we want to just build something. So let's see. Here's our challenges, our tile procedure. It's if you're on an elevated, if you're on incline or a decline, this is incline, this is a sunken. These are difficult terrain unless you have a ranger that is attuned to natural explorer for the color in question. So a ranger that's chosen black swamps as their natural terrain that they have their ranger features applied to, then it doesn't matter if it's sunken terrain, they'll still be able to traverse that with your team in a 5-hour slot, which sounds like it gives rangers a pretty big advantage in this game system. And I would say to an extent, yes, it does. So there you go. I'm okay with that being out of balance for now. Maybe we would offer the ability to pick up Natural Explorer as a power that another character would have to invest and then maintain, or rather to sustain as a concentration effect, or to lock down their mana to be able to maintain. I kind of like that idea. We'll make that a special perk for the game if people want to pick that up on a short rest or a long rest. As long as somebody has it, like a ranger would have it for free, somebody else could pick it up at the cost of a power and some mana, which could be debilitating at 3rd level because you only have 1 rank of power at 3rd level. So sustaining that would basically eat your power supply. So, but I'm okay with that. Yawn. Okay, well, shit. Let's toss some ideas around, right? I got 15 minutes left. Let's build something. So let's go with center blue tile, blue on blue, elevated terrain. So what's our procedure? Challenge, D6. Area has 2 challenges, so let's roll 2d6 for blue terrain. We're making a hex. So I got a 6 and a 2. 2 is going to be a dungeon, which is going to be a monster generator that's going to have to be dealt with, and a 6 is an environmental hazard. Challenges. Hazard. Dungeon. Dungeons D4 plus 2 rooms. I rolled a 1, so it'll be a 3-room dungeon. That's not a word. Let's go check out our hazard. We have our dungeons. We have our... Okay, let's check out... Since we have a dungeon, that means there's monsters. So we're going to go to the blue tile here. So I'm going to roll a d10 to see what kind of blue critter comes up. And then we're going to look at who the boss for that region is and see how those two interact. So I rolled a 3, which is going to be pixies. Oh, that's fun. And it's just straight... Okay, Houston, we found a problem. Because blue on blue isn't technically any guild. So I guess that means if it's just straight blue, then there's only 4... There's 4 guilds, so it'd be a D4. For blue, it would be Azorius, it would be Azet, it would be Azorius, Demir, Izet, or Simic. So those are the 4 options that we'd have for a straight blue hex. So let's roll a d4 to see which one it is. I rolled a 1, so it's Azorius. That's interesting. Azorius Pixies, huh? Challenge. Blue on blue tile, blue region, blue tile equals Azorius. So dungeon through dungeon, pixies with an Azorius threat. The D4 we roll for an Azorius threat is going to be a 4. So that's going to be a rogue Lamasu. So it's a pixie minions. And a rogue Lamasu. Let's look at what our hazards are in the region. Enchantments, nope. You know my hazards. Where's the more? Ah, there we go. Okay, so we determined it was going to be blue. So let's look at blue elevated terrain. Blue sunken, blue flat, blue elevated terrain. There's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we're using D6s. So let's roll a D6. So I rolled a 1, which is going to be a skyline cascade. So can't target further. Words. High wind. So elevated terrain, skyline cascades, which means floating islands with broken bridges. So there's both the there's both the elevated space, and then on the underneath is We're going to have a flat terrain underneath it because the islands float. So let's do another d6 to see what happens underneath the islands, which is a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Simic Ruins. Ooh, fun. Simic Ruins with a green twinge. Untended mutation pools, rogue crisis colonies. Okay, so what do we have here? The surface is shallow water. Is water shoals, I think is the word we want to use. Let's define shoal real quick. Define shoal. A large number of fish swimming together. What does shoaling mean? Deformation of incidental waves in the lower shore face that starts when the water depth becomes less than about half of the wavelength, causing the waves to become steeper. Shoaling. Coastline. Okay. Not quite the proper word. Surface is shallow, still water with sinkholes floating above 1d4 times 100 feet are floating islands, are island rocks. Let's see. The shallow caves hide crisis colonies that are harassed by pixie aggressive pixies under the command of a mad Lamasu. Let's look up what a Lamasu can do. What can a Lamasu do for you? D&D Beyond Lamasu. The Lamasu is probably going to be way more powerful than the team can deal with. What do you mean you failed? Fucking Lamasu, dude. D&D Beyond's the fucking worst. 5e Lamasu. I bet just regular Google will find it. Lamasu, thank you. Fucking rocket surgery. Fine. What's kind of cool shit you got going on? CR10. Holy crap, that way outranks your character. What's the cool shit they do? Immune to charm and stuff. Resistance to a bunch of damage. Pounce. Innate spellcasting. What can you do? Lamasu, boss. At will, detect evil and good. Mage hand, magic circle, sacred flint, Jesus. Unseen servant. 3 per day, bless, calm motion, command, dimension door, invisibility, thunder wave, once per day, banishment, flame strike, glyph of warding. Glyph of, okay, so glyph of warding, environmental hazards, glyph of warding in the dungeon, lair of Lamasu. Lair is atop a skyline island with fallen pillars and burnt out library, glyphs of warding, issue glyphs of warding, issue alert to Pixie Guardians. Let's see, what's some of the stuff that Pixies are charged with scouring the region for remnant books and written knowledge. The Lamassu is obsessed with restoring the ruined library it calls its lair. Conflict. The Krasis have taken home in many shallow dungeon, many shallow lairs at the in the shadows of still islands held aloft by magics. Lamassu believes the Krasis have hoarded and hidden books from sight, sends Pixies in to scout for knowledge. Team. And then the team. Okay, so that's a quick write-up of the region. So I'll have I'll need 2 lairs, 1 Skyline Lamassu Library, 1, and then 2 is Krasis Sunken Colony Network. Treasure. Spell scrolls. One-shot magic items. One-shot magic glyphs. Books of research. Can gain sage queries from Lamassu. Can gain surrounding tile info from Pixies or Krasis. Can gain safe passage. No. Yep, just gain surrounding tile info. There you go. So that's our basic setup. So there are potential encounter with Pixies harassing the team, trying to steal shit from them. There's encounters with Krasis, potentially attacking the creatures for traversing the land. If the team decides to elevate, they'll definitely attract the attention of Pixies. I can imagine one encounter with Pixies to lead them into the mess, one encounter with Krasis to lead them into that mess. If they get hired by the Pixies and Lamassu to take out the Krasis, then I can see you delving into that dungeon. If the team is harassed by Pixies, or if the team hooks up with the Krasis and the Krasis tell them that they're being harassed by Pixies, that could lead them up into the skyline where they can find the Lamassu, where the Lamassu will offer them trade of information for any knowledge that they give up, or if they, and either faction can hire the characters to try to eliminate the soldiers from the other. So this is a double boss area. So because of the floating nature of the islands, I think I want to insert a boss into a simic boss that's overseeing the Krasis. So let's roll a d4. I rolled a 1. Forgotten Krasis experiments. Well, isn't that just fucking perfect? So, lairs, Skyline Lamasu, Krasis Sunken Lab Network, Krasis Brood Queen. So that would be this tile here. If the team decides to start in this tile, this is the kind of bullshit that they're going to deal with in that tile. If I'm going to have, okay, so if I'm going to say run 3-hour sessions, I could see a team going through a fight with Krasis or Pixies, and then Pixies or Krasis, or a boss in a dungeon. The dungeons are 3-room dungeons, so they'd have Guardian, Trap, and then boss to deal with. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. At that point, they'd probably want you to look at taking a rest. Alternatively, instead of dealing with the Krasis pit, they might want to try to deal with the Lamasu, but that's going to largely be angled towards a non-combat encounter. So combat with Pixie, combat with Krasis, potentially second combat with Pixies or Krasis. So that gives us 3 combat encounters there. We have the environmental hazard of dealing with ascending, of climbing up, finding a way to climb up onto the skyline where the Lamasu is at, and then a social encounter and negotiating with the Lamasu. And these things can be done in any order. The team can bail on any of this stuff, but they're going to have to resolve both the Pixies and the Krasis for to be able to secure that tile. Otherwise, they're going to have to backtrack, avoid that tile specifically, and choose either the red or white flatlands to get around the elevated blue tile, or decide to try to attack it another time. So they could go and, say, deal with the Krasis as a short rest, back out, then go back in and deal with the Skyline, Pixies, and Lamasu as a second short rest to resolve that, to lock down the tile as non-hostile, to then be able to advance on to, say, another blue elevated black level or white level terrain tile. So this could potentially be a good 3-hour one-shot to clear out that tile. I could see that easily happening. But the caravan that the team is protecting starts in the starting region. And whenever you secure your first tile, whatever tile you secure first here is where you can advance your caravan into. And now that it's safe there, you have to start looking at the surrounding tiles and what's the next step that you want to take one by one as you go through. So I could see the team dealing with one tile here and the 3-hour adventure that we'll have. And then when we come back next week, we'll pick another tile to then overtake. And we'll continue through there. And if my timing is wrong and it takes longer, then a short rest to, like, I think the Krasis can be resolved on a short rest. I think the Lamasu and Pixies can be resolved on a short rest. This is a circumstance where there's a double tile thing going on because the islands are floating and they have to be floating over something. So I'm populating both regions just to make it complicated. Since it's an elevated tile, that generally means that it's going to take 10 hours instead of 5 hours to resolve. So it could take 1, maybe 2 sessions to resolve that. I'm okay with that. That's a cool tile. So when we come back on Tuesday, we're going to build the white level tile and the red level tile. And then we'll see how all 3 of these things potentially interact with each other. And then we'll also want to have these 3 tiles. You always want to have one more tile built out than where the team can get to, so that you always know in advance what it is that you could be running across and what other things could be flanking the team as they take over tiles. Like if they haven't dealt with their flanks, then they're potentially going to have to deal with threats from those flanks when they take long rests. So I'm happy with this space. When we come back on Tuesday, we're going to build out some more tiles just to see what these things look like, to start creating a mosaic. I don't mind sharing this information with you guys here openly. It's just a play test. As we move further and further into the tiles, you'll have less and less information available to you. there should be some sort of an emergent gameplay that evolves from this as the team makes choices about how they want to interact with the different creatures, enchantments, artifacts, and hazards in each each tile as they progress through it. So that's the plan. So I'm at my hour. I gotta let it go for now. I'm going to be back. I'm going to do some more of this tomorrow at lunchtime, just like we did here today. We'll just build out some more tiles. We'll look at what that stuff looks like. And then on top of that, we are going to, tonight I'll be back in about 4.5-ish hours. I'll be back, and we'll start, we'll continue working on Vokath's base as a 500-foot battle crab vessel for the Spelljammer campaign. And then tomorrow morning we'll be back and we'll continue working on the Eberron dungeon. So if you're catching up with this in the future, I'm glad we have one together. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications of when I am live again, and I will hopefully see you later tonight or tomorrow. So thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, right on, man. Yeah, that's okay. I'm just kind of kicking through stuff. This is design, so it's kind of a think box. You don't have to. You're not required to engage at all, man. I'm just glad that you're here. So thanks a lot. See you guys later.